Hello and welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger. August 29th, 2021. It seems like summer is passing by so quickly. I mean, it seemed like not too long ago, most of us here are complaining about the heat wave, and I was reminding everybody to drink water, stay hydrated. And now, weather starting to cool down, and September is quickly upon us. Just another reminder of how swiftly life can pass us by. This morning, when I and my girlfriend were having a nice little chat, which we do actually quite often, unlike a lot of my friends and their partners or mates who seem like they don't really talk uh, beyond what you want for dinner, or where do you want to go to get grocery, or have you paid the bills, or do you want to go to bed, and are we going to have some fun, stuff like that. Uh, Many people just don't seem to uh, have quote unquote conversation with their loved ones as much as they should. Well, me and my girlfriend, so far speaking, we are the exception. We do talk very often, and as we have to, because when we are not together, when she's in the U.S. and when I'm in Canada, our whole relationship is built on conversation, being able to spend time on a virtual, a spiritual, emotional level. So we definitely try to keep this going, uh, even when we are physically together. Many people have asked me before, "But what do you have to talk about? Is there really that much to talk about?" Well, if you know me, if you know Johnny Tiger by now, you know that just give me a little bit of a lead. Give me anything. Ask me a question. Ask me about something, and I can talk about it. I can talk about a lot of stuff, even things that I have no interest in or very little knowledge on. I can generally find a conversation in anything. Anyway, I think I digressed enough. Uh, I seem to do that a lot too, digress into other uh, flows and topics. So, back to what we were talking about. We were talking about people with mental illness, people who are mentally challenged. Now, let me quickly specify. I'm not talking about people who are maybe have a touch of ADHD, people who might have a bit of depression, or people who may have anger issue. And when I say mental illness or mentally challenged people, I'm talking about the more severe uh, people who might have Asperger syndrome, uh, uh, people who might be Down syndrome, um, people who may be suffering uh, uh, some kind of dissociative personality issues, or etc., etc. There's so many things that can plague people, whether from when we are born, that our brain just lacks a certain something or got too much of a certain something. Our brain just don't function like other people, or it may due to a later uh, condition, trauma, accident, drug abuse, uh, tumors, other illness, etc., etc., that result in our brain not functioning like other people. So I mentioned to my girlfriend, I said, whenever I have a mentally challenged or mentally ill patient in counseling, I always end up referring them to someone else because I have a hard time working with people that are mentally challenged or mentally ill. And of course, as soon as I said that, in my head, there's a little voice of judgment, that little voice of God, I like to say, that said, "You're such a prejudiced bastard." And you know what? I have heard that before. Various stages in my life, various places in my life, I have had people accuse me of being prejudiced. And for the most part, when people say you are prejudiced, I am going to say, yes, you're right. You're right. I am. I am prejudiced. I'm sorry, but I am. I'm not proud of it. I'm not going to say that it's right, but I definitely am. But before you turn this video off and unsubscribe from the channel and say, oh, he's such a prejudiced, bigot, what kind of person, please finish the video and then see if you understand where I am coming from. Why do I freely admit that I am prejudiced? Because there are three kinds of people, three kinds of people. Now, when I run into in my line of work, whether it be counseling or in my other line of work, such as teaching martial art. When I ran into these people, I will not teach them. I will refer them to go find someone else. I will help them find someone else, but I will not work with them. First is people with addiction issues. People with addiction issues. Uh, when I teach martial art, I generally don't want to teach people who have addiction issue. That should be pretty obvious because in many ways, martial art requires dedication. Martial art requires control. Martial art requires discipline. Yes, it will give you discipline as well. But if you come from a place of addiction into learning martial art, it's very, very difficult for that to stick. Right? I have taught too many in the past people who might be a little bit too fond of drinking, a little bit too fond of uh, this or that. And usually it turned out the same way. They will train for however long, a year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years, whatever. And then they eventually come to a point where they decide it's time to stop. And then they focus on their addiction, drinking, smoking, doing drugs, gambling, whatever. And within 2 years, they manage to undo everything that we have worked on for the duration of their training. So that is pretty much a waste of their time, a waste of their money, and more importantly, a waste of my time. It does not make me feel good inside either when one of my former students is backsliding. So I'm not saying that people with addiction shouldn't or can't learn martial art. They definitely can. They definitely should. But from my past experience, I already know that uh, because of various factors, because of various reasons, it's beyond my ability for the most part to make the martial art lifestyle stick with these people. Uh, and this leads into why I do not want to work with people who have addiction issues in counseling. I don't want to work with people with addiction issues in counseling, not because I don't think they deserve help, not because I look down upon them uh, in a negative or derogatory way, but simply because I personally do not understand addiction. It's not my specialty when I went to school. It's not something that I'm very good at relating to. And it's a condition that I just really have a hard time understanding. And I never used to understand why, because I used to say, I don't understand addiction because in my whole life I tried a lot of things. I drank heavily when I was a teenager. I smoked heavily. I even did cocaine for a while. I did marijuana, and I tried. I played in casino, on and off, but every time when it was time to quit, I was able to drop things cold turkey. Like if you give, I've been drinking coffee. Okay, I've been drinking coffee for the last 20 or so years, and when I don't have coffee, I get very, very cranky. So you can say I'm addicted, but if you give me a valid reason to quit drinking coffee, I can quit drinking coffee point blank, cold turkey, no problem. I'll be cranky for a couple of days, maybe a couple of months, but I can do it. That's the kind of person I am. So I don't understand, or I didn't understand, why everyone else couldn't do the same. Because I didn't think I was anything special. A lot of people try to butter me up or blow smoke uh, up my back and say, well, not everyone has such a strong willpower. You are just abnormally strong and tough. You have a lot of discipline. That's why you don't get addicted. That's why you don't have problem quitting. But I didn't believe that because think, I didn't think that it was that tough. When I quit smoking, did I suffer? Yeah, but in my head, it was like, huh? Just think of it. You're quitting, you're naturally going to feel bad. Just treat it like you're suffering through flu or cold, and it will, you'll get over it. And that was that. I never believed that it was my strong personality or brilliant mind or all that nonsense. And indeed, it wasn't. If you go on the internet and do some research, you'll find that there is actually a group of people that are born lacking a certain something in their brain. And these people usually cannot get addicted to things. Like seriously, this is like a superpower. These people are born with the kind of brain that can't get addicted. And I think I might be one of those people. I might be. I might be wrong. Maybe one of these days I'll find something that I'll get addicted to and just can't quit. But So far in my almost 40 years on this earth, I have not come across that. So, um, be, being that I cannot understand the torment and torture and why people can't quit, I do not want to work with people with addiction issue because I'm not physically, mentally, emotionally, and educationally, I'm not qualified to work with them. For me to work with them, it would be an injustice. It would just be me taking their money for nothing. And it is because of that lack of understanding, lack of ability to relate to them, I think that make me unable to get through to them when I train them in fitness or martial art as well. The second kind of people that I will not train in martial art or self-defense is abuser. People who abuse their spouse, people who abuse their children. We don't need to go into that deeply. That should be self-explanatory. I mean, this guy is already beating up his children. This guy is already beating up his wife. Do you really want to teach him kickboxing? Okay? That's pretty obvious. I will also refer these people to someone else for counseling. I will not work with these people because in my head, I am unable to understand. Unable or unwilling, I don't know. It's one of the two. I'm unable to understand how is it that they abuse their spouse or children or others. They know that it's a problem. Obviously, they know it's a problem. That's why they're here for counseling. So they do the act. They know it's wrong, but they still do it. Again, this goes back to me. I have a lot of violent urges, really. I am a really violent person inside. Those of you who see me really going into martial art or self-defense tournament or fights seriously, you know. Okay, those of you who train with me, you know that when that violent streak come out, it's not nice. But I have been able to keep this in. I am able to keep it under wrap. I do not beat up children. I do not beat up women, no matter how angry they make me. And don't get me wrong, I understand. Sometimes some people they just piss you off so much that you feel so good to just uh, uh, introduce them to some of the misery that they're putting you through. I understand that part, but thinking it, feeling it is different from doing it. Right? We all know right or wrong, and we all know we all like if you are above 18 and you don't understand that beating someone up, especially when they're children or your wife or your girlfriend, if you don't understand that it's wrong, then you probably should be going back to some reprogramming, re-education, or something like that. Okay, we live in a civilized world. Even people who come from not so civilized part of the world, if you ask them, if you ask them, do you know it's wrong to beat up your wife? They'll say, I know, but in my culture, blah 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 blah. Okay, so I don't want to hear the rest. You already know it's wrong, but you still do it. That to me, that to me, when you know it's wrong and you still do it, and you are coming to counseling and then you still do it, that to me make you almost uh, as bad or as problematic as the people with addiction or people with some defect. I can't understand it. I won't work with it. I came from abusive, very abusive environment myself, so obviously there is a lot of uh, uh, issues in there. If I work with these people, I will have a lot of bias against them. So again, working with them would be an injustice on my part, would not be right. Okay, so I will not work with people who has addiction issue. I will not work with people who are abusers. Third and last, what we started talking about. I will not teach self-defense or martial art to uh, Actually, let me rephrase that. I generally speaking, I have because I have made exceptions, but generally speaking, I try not to teach martial art or self-defense to someone with mental challenge or mental illness. And this again should be very self-explanatory. There is a big ethic issue. We had people coming to learn Krav Maga, people who um, are ADHD, uh, people who are autistic, people who have violent tendencies and might randomly lash out at people. Uh, It's not their fault. It's not their fault. They're born that way. They have that issue. Uh, but when someone has a tendency to lash out at the most unexpected moment, do you really want to teach them some deadly military-based fighting style? Uh, and one day, possibly, they lose control of their temper and do use it as an old lady on the bus. No, you know, it's just too much of an ethical liability issue in there. So generally speaking, I will not uh, pass martial knowledge onto people who are mentally challenged or mentally ill uh, because of that. Uh, in counseling, I will also refer them to other counselors. Again, I was not trained specifically in dealing with mental disability. I have a very difficult time understanding, communicating, and working with them. Uh, my whole being is very logic based. My thought process is very straightforward, it's very streamlined. Uh, if you can look inside my head, my brain, my thought process usually runs like a straight, fast flowing river. There's a lot of things going through uh, continuously. That's a continuous flow in a straight line. Once in a while, there's going to be a curve here and a bend there. For the most part, my thought process is very fast flowing, very straightforward. This is why you give me a topic, I can talk almost endlessly about it. I can just run with it because I just let my thoughts flow. But that also makes it so I am finding it very difficult to stop and divert and try to follow the thought process of someone whose brain is so different from mine that when they say something offensive to me, I can't figure out if they are saying it, but they don't mean it. They're only saying it because they're uh, autistic, or maybe they do mean it. They are autistic, but maybe when they say this, they do mean it. When they say that they hate me, maybe they do mean it. Maybe they really don't want to see me. Like that simple thing right there, something so small can just mess up my whole train of thought and make it almost almost like I'm going to glitch out. My computer is going to crash like that. So I have a hard time dealing with people in that situation. So again, for me to take their money and work with them would be wrong. Would be wrong. I'm not mentally and educationally equipped to give them the best that they should get. So you see, I will freely admit I'm prejudiced because I do turn these people away based on what they are, who they are, and what situation they are in. And I will make exceptions sometimes, but it's very rare. Uh, but for the most part, I don't do it because I hate them. I don't do it because I think they don't deserve help. I do it because I know I, Johnny Tiger, am not the best person to help them. I know I'm not equipped, I'm not ready to help these people. I think in this society we live in today, so often we are quick to jump down someone's throat when we see someone do something that can be perceived as unequal or unfair. But I think sometimes it is important for us to take a step back and think, well, maybe there is a good reason. Maybe this person doing this out of the goodness of their heart and not because of some malicious intent. Let me give you a quick example. Right? Um, I will not. I love all kind of animals. I love all kind of animals. But I will not keep things like butterfly, uh, delicate, delicate things, small things. Why? It's not it's not that I hate them. It's not that I think they don't deserve a home. It's not like I have anything against goldfish, but I know my own temperament and ability, and these things generally uh, die a lot around me because sometimes I might be a bit careless, I might squish them by accident, or forget to feed them because goldfish they don't make sound. And, sometimes if you get busy, you might forget to feed them, or you might forgot that you fed them already and you feed them too much. They eat themselves to death. Uh, So